All right, the 2018 ARIA for Best Jazz Album. I was going to be a bit jazzy myself there for a second. Congratulations to Jonathan Zwartz for Animarum. Where's Jonathan? Whoa.
Far out. Okay. I'll just take my pulse for a second. It's about 160, I think. Congratulations to all the nominees in this category. It was a tough field. I'm pretty emotional about this, actually. I've been doing this for 40 years, so it means a lot to get this award and to be recognised by my peers. I have a couple of thank yous to make, which I wrote down on an unpaid Telstra envelope. And I remembered my glasses. This is a good thing. First of all, I really want to thank the band who played on this album. I have the utmost respect and love for these guys. I think they're preeminent in Australia in what they do, and I think they really show that on this album. Barney McCall, Hamish Stewart, James Greening, Richard McGrath, Phil Slater, Julian Wilson, who came close to dying just before this album was made through a hospital error. And anyway, I won't go into it, but he survived, thank God, and he played so beautifully on this album. Fabian Javier and Steve Magnuson. I also want to thank Helik Hadar, who mixed the album and who mixed the previous two albums, who's really one of the best mixing engineers in the world. He's won a Grammy for it. Speaking of Grammys, I think this might be the Australian version of the Grammys, is that right? Yeah. Pretty chuffed. Okay, so the album was dedicated to a really amazing man who passed away by the name of Neil Lawrence, and he was very instrumental in encouraging me to go forward. And I think I mention this because in Dan Rosen's speech, thank you, Dan, he talked about champions, and without champions of my sector, we would not really be able to survive. It's difficult enough to survive as it is. And with the ABC cutting the programs that actually featured music by artists like myself or Barney or Katie Noonan, it's just become a lot quieter. So I would really encourage the ABC to reinstate some music programs that cover our sector. You could call it new music, and then you could have jazz and film music and all sorts of folk music, interesting music. Champions, lots of champions to get me to this point. So I need to thank, first of all, I need to thank the ARIAs and the judges and my peers, and thank you very, very much. The PPCA and APRA, who are champions and hugely supportive of creative musicians, composers, writers, so on and forth. The Australia Council, who have supported me in my projects and various other people in their projects. Without them, a lot of stuff wouldn't get done, wouldn't get made. The Australian Cultural Fund, which really allowed me to make this album, actually. MGM, who distribute the album. Birdland Records, who stock it and really support me. These are champions of Australian music, as you all are, I'm sure. A particular shout out to a really great friend and supporter of mine who's in the audience right now, Christopher Reed. And last of all, I really want to thank my family who have put up with me doing this for an awfully long time, and the ups and downs that go along with it. And it's pretty intense, you know, because sometimes there's money and sometimes there isn't money, and there's always long hours. And but it's great to be in a house where people are creating, and there's a lot of love around. Love of what we do, and it's different from being in a 9-to-5 job. I don't regret any of it. So anyway, you were talking about, Dan was talking about swelling, growing the idea of music. I had a couple of ideas I'd like to share with you. Let's have a Celebrate Australian Music month, where we have all aspects of Australian music celebrated, including from music teachers right through all sectors of the industry. Let's have a quota system where at least one day of the week only Australian music gets played on the radio. And if Virgin want to supply airfares, I'm pretty sure I could arrange a kick-ass international jazz festival. And with that, I just have one last thing I wanted to say. It's a quote from George Bernard Shaw. I was looking him up last night, I don't know why, but he's pretty pithy. He said, if you have an apple and I have an apple, and we exchange apples, then you and I will each have an apple. But if you have an idea and I have an idea, and we exchange ideas, then each of us will have 2 ideas. Thank you.